Join me for some seeds to sow in January. So what you can grow and sow in January is going to be dependent on where you are in the country. But I'm going to chat to you about what I'm growing and sowing, but we're going to start with 3 terms I'm going to use that are pretty important. I'm going to talk about direct sowing, sowing under cover, and I'm going to use the term sowing indoors or indoor sowing, but I will explain it in a second. But let's start with direct sowing, which is basically when you sow in situ out in your raised bed, in the garden, whatever it is that you're planting. Direct because you're putting the seeds directly into the place they're going to grow for their life cycle. Now, I have a bed here that is full of garlic and onion sets. And I planted these in here back in, I think it was maybe November. The reason I've got the garlic and the onions here then, the garlic is in here because it needs the cold snap. It's really important for the garlic. The onion sets aren't quite coming up yet, but they're doing their thing in there under the ground. However, okay, if your ground isn't frozen, you can still get them planted in there. But if your ground is frozen, you can do them under cover, and we'll talk about that in a sec. Okay, so we're now in the greenhouse to do some undercover seed starting. So when we talk about sowing seeds under cover, we're talking about maybe an unheated greenhouse or polytunnel, or maybe in a cold frame out in the garden somewhere. Basically, you're sowing the seeds, but you're providing a little bit of protection for the plants until you can get them out to their final spot in spring when things warm up a bit. So undercover simply means not heated, but a bit of protection from the elements, like things like frost. So that's what we're doing in here. Now, there are a lot of seeds that you can sow under cover. Because I've got my awesome month-to-month succession sown garden plan, and I did take you guys through how to create the plan and how to work my spreadsheet, so the link's in the description if you want it. But because I've got that, I now know what I'm sowing every month and where, so I can take you through what I'm going to be doing this January. So there are always salad crops you can go at pretty much any time of year, and you guys have seen I've been actually growing my lettuces, pak choy, mustards, all of that kind of stuff. I've been growing them right through, so that's what I'm going to do again because it's succession sown. So I'm going to get some more going. Now, I have got a few here that I love. So I've already mentioned before to you guys about winter lettuces. This is Valen, which is a winter gem lettuce. This is a kind of style of lettuce that we really love. We've got this one, and we've got a standard gem lettuce that we will grow from March onwards probably. But this little guy will easily germinate at these temperatures and keep going for us. Now, no fancy packet for you with this one, but another one that is a big favourite and I'm going to get going today is lamb's lettuce, also called corn salad. This guy is much more of a kind of leafy salad. It's lovely little leaves that you can use a bit like spinach, so you can use them just as salad leaves or you can cook with them. Fantastic little guy here, and it grows so well under cover at this time of year. Mustards are another fantastic one. So I've got 2 mustards that I've got grown at the minute, and I'm going to keep going, and that is dragon's tongue, which is a fabby, it looks awesome. It's got kind of greens and reds and stuff and it looks amazing. But also wave, again, I'm growing these are quite big leaves, and I'm growing them with the intention of cooking with them. But you can also grow things like Mizuna and that type of mustard as well. All that kind of cut and come again stuff is really good at this time of year as well. And of course, I've got my pak choy. You guys have been seeing the pak choy in this greenhouse right through autumn, and you're going to see it a lot more. So I'm basically using this up, and I need to keep sowing to keep it going. So I've got my red stem pak choy, which we love. It looks absolutely beautiful and we are big fans of it. But I had these out in the garden in the raised beds and pretty much got nothing because the snails ate them all. So just to warn you, if you're growing leafy greens of this type, snails, slugs, real pest. Something to think about then. Pak choy. I've said I'm going to be growing that this January in here. Pak choy and those other Chinese leafy greens actually do best in the cooler ends of the year. So they're good for kind of getting going now to go out early spring, and then again great at maybe the end of August as it's starting to cool down. They don't do so well in that really hot part of summer, they tend to bolt. So root veg crops are another great one to start off undercover so that you can actually get them out into the garden when they're a wee bit bigger. Beetroot, carrots, that type of thing. So a couple of types of beetroot here that I'm going to be sowing. So there is my standard, which is Bolt Hardy. Bolt Hardy is one of my favourites and most reliable beetroots, but I'm also adding Bitolo, which is an F1 hybrid. Now here's the thing, I'm going to sow these and bring them on, and they'll be tiny come spring when it's time to go out, but it'll give them that little jump start. And the good thing about giving your veg a jump start is it just means you'll get that harvest slightly earlier. So it's great for succession planting, but beetroot are one of those awesome ones that you can actually use the leaves in salad. This is also going to be providing me with awesome little salad leaves. So talking about the root veg again, I'm going to be sowing some carrots. Now, you guys who have been with us for a little while, you know that we've had absolute success at growing carrots in here through the winter before. It's completely possible. Oh my God, I've got carrots and it's not even the end of April. But again, it's about getting that jump on the spring. So I'm going to get these going in little root trainers, and I can then be putting them out once it's a wee bit warmer and the risk of frozen ground has passed. So my two favourite varieties, I've got Autumn King, which are fantastic for sowing for through autumn and winter. And I've also got Flyaway F1. Love these guys. These are my standard go-to carrots every year, along with Purple Haze. Purple Haze is a purple carrot with an orange centre that I absolutely love. We've grown them every year and they come up an absolute treat for us. So if you're looking for my top carrot, Purple Haze it is. So that's the root veg I'm going to be growing. Again, talking about having little knobby leaves to put in your salads, peas. Now, we had a wee experiment back in the autumn that failed miserably. I sowed lots of peas for the hope that I could get pea shoots for my salads. I also sowed some peas outdoors at the same time, thoroughly expecting them to not do anything. None of the peas that I sowed in here worked, none of them, but I've got 2 pea plants out in the beds out there now, doing fine. So I'm going to be sowing some more peas in the greenhouse undercover for the purpose of pea shoots for my salads again, because I'm just trying to bring all those little hints and tastes of spring in where I can. So I'm sticking with my 2 types of peas. My Kelvedon Wonder, I can never say that. That is the one that I grew last year outdoors and it was stunning. But I've also got Meteor, and Meteor are the ones that did come up. So these guys cope really well with the cooler temperatures, and this is my recommendation if you want to get some early pea starts going. Spring onions then. I'm doing 2 different types of spring onions. This one is the White Lisbon, but it's the Winter Hardy version. That's really important, okay? The other one I'll be sowing further on in spring, but this one is great for getting going undercover in the greenhouse at this time of year. So it is White Lisbon, but it's Winter Hardy. Look for Winter Hardy on the labels. So that then is undercover. What we mean by sowing undercover and the seeds that I'm sowing undercover in January. But there's another term as well. I said earlier on that I'm referring to it as indoor, and that's because quite often you'll see this on the seed packets. It will say that you can sow indoors. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean specifically indoors. It just means that generally these are plants that will need that kind of temperature, so you don't really want to be putting them out in the garden yet. For me, that's going to be my peppers, aubergines and some of my tomatoes. These are seeds that need it to be very warm for them to germinate, but also they need to be kept warm and very much protected from the elements. So I can't even have these growing in my greenhouse undercover at this time of year. You really want to be thinking about these as a heated greenhouse or maybe in a heated propagator like the Vitapod I've got. Or if you can't do that, then these are the kind of things that you could bring on in the house. If you've got a very sunny window ledge, you can bring them on. Or last year I did it using heat mats and grow lamps, and it worked brilliantly. So luckily this year I've got power in my greenhouse and I'm doing it in here this year using my Vitapod. So let me get started on my peppers, my tomatoes, my aubergines. King of the North bell peppers, I cannot fault these. I love these guys. These are big, proper, tasty, lush bell peppers. I got so many peppers, such a harvest from these guys, and they ripened brilliantly in my greenhouse last year. So I'm repeating that this year. Love these guys. But for my tomatoes, things are changing up. Last year, I deliberately grew some of the standards that a lot of the new gardeners grow. Things like Gardener's Delight and Sun Gold. Those aren't the type of tomatoes I normally grow, but I grew them because you guys were growing along with me. So this year, I'm going back to having some fun with my tomatoes. I'm not going to tell you about all of them just now because I'm only growing 2 varieties in January, and that is... yeah, it's not a proper seed packet, it's Brad's Atomic Grape. Thank you, Lindsay, who gave me a wee drop of her seeds. She shared them with me. So I've never grown this before. I don't know what to expect, but it just seemed to be the one that was causing all the fun last year. Everyone was giving these a try. So I thought I'll give them a wee go. They're a kind of purpley coloured, sort of plum shaped, but they've got other colours through them. No idea what they taste like, but I'll let you know. So those ones, and the other one I'm growing, again, I don't have a fancy seed packet to show you, but it is Marmande. Now Marmande are Kate's favourite tomato. They are a huge big beefsteak and they're all knobbly and really ugly, but they taste amazing. So Marmande's a big one for us. We didn't grow them last year because none of my seeds generated, but I'm going to be doing a video on seed viability testing with you guys, so stick with us for that one and we'll talk more about it. But this year I've bought a new pack of seeds, but as I said, those are the 2 I'm going to get grown because the Marmande are big, huge beefsteaks. They take a long time to develop and ripen. So I'm going to sow them now to give them as long as possible. The Brad's Atomic Grape, I'm going to sow them now as well because they're an indeterminate tomato. They're the ones that are really tall. So again, I'm going to give that as much time as I possibly can. There are other tomatoes I'm going to grow, but I'm going to sow them next month. So I'll tell you more about them then. So aubergine, another fantastic one to get sowing now because again it needs a nice long season, so it's a good one to get started off indoor just now. I'm growing Black Beauty. It's quite a common one in the UK. Lots of folk have had great success with it, so I'm giving that a go this year. I've only tried to grow aubergines once and it was my very first year as a gardener. So I'm giving it a try now with all of this gardening knowledge I've got under my belt 10 years later because I had no success in the first year. So I'll keep you guys all up to date on how it goes. So as I mentioned guys, I've got a whole series of videos coming up. So not only are there going to be more of these what I'm sowing every month, but I'm about to launch a whole series of videos for you as pre-season training for gardeners. So it's all of the really useful things you want to know before you start sowing your seeds. So keep an eye out for those. They'll be starting next week. And don't forget, if you like it, give it a thumbs up, and please, if you want to give us the best belated Christmas present, feel free to share these videos with all of your friends and let them see useful gardening content on the internet. As always guys, stay safe and I'll see you soon. Bye!